The Silent Planet. The year was 2847, and the galaxy had long moved on without Earth. For 4 centuries, the birthplace of humanity remained shrouded in silence, a mysterious void in the vast tapestry of interstellar civilization. The Galactic Consortium, a collective of 57 species, had marked the Sol system as a dead zone, a cautionary tale of a primitive species that destroyed itself through war and environmental collapse. No ship dared venture into the forbidden sector. The last expedition, sent 300 years ago, had vanished without a trace, leaving only scattered debris at the edge of the Oort cloud. The official report listed the cause as unknown spatial anomalies, but whispers among seasoned traders spoke of something far more sinister. Everything changed when an ancient probe, its hull corroded by centuries of cosmic radiation, drifted into the Nexus trade lanes. The artifact bore markings that hadn't been seen in generations, the faded blue and green of Earth's ancient United Nations Space Agency. Security forces quickly secured the relic, bringing it to the central hub of the consortium. Within its databanks, they found a message that would shake the foundations of galactic society. A single transmission, repeated in over 2,000 languages, both human and alien. Do not approach. Your actions have consequences. You have been warned. The Consortium Council convened an emergency session. Representatives from the Zethran Empire, the Corvethi Republic, and the Silurian Collective filled the Grand Chamber, their voices rising in heated debate. We cannot ignore this, declared Ambassador Thex of the Silurians, her crystalline form pulsing with agitation. This message appears intended for us. A dead civilization cannot threaten the living, scoffed High Commander Grax of the Zethran military wing. Earth has been dark for centuries. This is nothing more than an ancient defense system malfunctioning. Amid the chaos, one figure remained silent. Admiral Kel Norveth, the only known human hybrid in the consortium, studied the probe's data with intense focus. His mother had been one of the last humans to escape Earth before the silence fell, his father a Torvani diplomat who had given him sanctuary. Kel had risen through the ranks, becoming the consortium's most decorated officer, yet he had never set foot on his ancestral home. As the debate raged, Kel stood. I volunteer to lead the reconnaissance mission, he announced, his voice cutting through the chamber. If Earth still holds secrets, we must uncover them. The Council approved his request, assigning him a small fleet of scout ships. 5 vessels, equipped with the latest in stealth technology and scientific instruments, departed for the Sol system. Each was commanded by experienced officers, veterans who had faced the darkest corners of space. The journey to Sol took 3 standard weeks. As they approached the outer edge of the system, strange readings began to appear on their sensors. Gravitational fluctuations that defied known physics. Radiation patterns that formed mathematical sequences too complex to decipher. Captain Vela of the scout ship Horizon reported first. Admiral, we're detecting massive energy signatures throughout the system. It's as if the entire solar system has been engineered. Before Kel could respond, the communication cut off. One by one, the scout ships vanished from his tactical display. No explosions, no distress calls. They simply ceased to exist. The flagship, Constellation, hung at the edge of the system, its crew frozen in terror. Then, through the static, a transmission emerged, not from the missing ships, but from something else, something vast and ancient. You have ignored our warning. Now witness what you have wrought. The stars around them seemed to shift, space itself bending in impossible ways. From the darkness of the Kuiper Belt, structures began to materialize, massive constructs of unknown design, each larger than any station the consortium had ever built. Admiral, his science officer whispered, these readings, they're not just structures, they're alive. Cale felt his hybrid blood run cold. Whatever had happened to Earth during those centuries of silence, it had transformed the entire system into something beyond comprehension. And now, they had awakened it. The constellation turned, engines at full burn, racing to escape the system. But as they fled, Kel couldn't shake the feeling that they were being allowed to leave. That whatever force now controlled Sol wanted them to carry a message back to the galaxy. As they reached the safety of Consortium space, Kel prepared his report. The words of the warning echoed in his mind, taking on new meaning. Earth hadn't fallen. It had evolved. And the galaxy had just knocked on its door. The Consortium Council listened in stunned silence as Kel delivered his findings. Holographic displays showed the impossible structures, the energy readings that defied physics, the empty space where 5 ships had once been. "We must mobilize the full fleet," demanded High Commander Grax. "This is clearly a threat to galactic security." Or perhaps, Kel countered, "This is a test, one we're failing." But the drums of war had already begun to beat. Fear spread through the Consortium like wildfire. Species that had been at peace for generations suddenly armed themselves, convinced that whatever dwelled in Sol posed an existential threat. Within months, the largest armada in galactic history assembled at the border of human space. Over 10,000 warships, representing every major power in the Consortium, prepared to enter the Sol system. Their mission: neutralize the threat and secure whatever technology had transformed Earth. Kel watched from the bridge of the constellation, now serving as the command ship for the invasion fleet. Every instinct told him this was wrong, that they were walking into something they couldn't comprehend. But the momentum of fear had taken hold, and nothing could stop what was coming. As the fleet crossed into the Sol system, space itself seemed to hold its breath. The outer planets loomed silent and watchful, their orbits subtly altered in ways that suggested intelligent design. Jupiter now bore a ring system that pulsed with data patterns. Saturn's moons had been rearranged into a perfect geometric formation. "All ships, maintain formation," Kel ordered, his voice steady despite his growing unease. "Advance to Mars orbit and hold position." The armada moved deeper into the system, weapons charged and shields at maximum. They encountered no resistance, no defensive fire, only an eerie silence that grew more oppressive with each passing moment. Then, as they approached Mars, reality itself seemed to fracture. The red planet wasn't red anymore. Its surface had been transformed into a crystalline lattice that reflected impossible colors. Structures rose from its surface, reaching into space like the fingers of some cosmic entity. "Admiral," his tactical officer reported, voice trembling, "we're being scanned. The intensity, it's reading our DNA, our memories, everything." Before Kel could respond, a voice filled every ship in the fleet, not through their communication systems, but directly into their minds. It spoke in every language simultaneously, carrying the weight of centuries. "You were warned. You chose not to listen. Now learn why Earth went silent." The stars began to move. Not the ships, not the planets. The very fabric of space-time was being manipulated. The fleet found itself surrounded by structures that hadn't been there moments before, vast geometric shapes that defied comprehension. In that moment, Kel understood. Earth hadn't been destroyed. It hadn't fallen to war or environmental collapse. It had transcended, evolving into something that made their advanced civilizations look primitive by comparison. And they had just declared war on it. "All ships," Kel broadcast, his voice carrying across the fleet. "Power down weapons. This isn't a battle we can win. This isn't even a battle we can comprehend." But it was too late. Some ships, driven by fear or pride, opened fire. Their weapons discharged into the void, energy beams, and missiles streaking toward the nearest structures. The response was instantaneous and terrifying. The projectiles didn't explode or get deflected. They simply ceased to exist, erased from reality as if they had never been fired. Then the ships that had attacked began to change, their molecular structure rearranging before the horrified eyes of their crews. Metal became organic. Organic became energy. Energy became thought. In seconds, Dozens of warships were transformed into living extensions of whatever intelligence now controlled the Sol system. Ceasefire, Kale screamed into the fleet-wide channel. All ships, ceasefire immediately. The massacre stopped as quickly as it had begun. The transformed ships hung motionless in space, neither dead nor alive in any conventional sense. Then they began to move, forming patterns that hurt to look at, geometries that existed in more dimensions than the mind could process. The voice returned, somehow both gentle and terrifying. You came seeking war. We offer understanding. You brought weapons. We bring evolution. Choose the awakening. The Armada hung motionless in space, 10,000 ships frozen between fight and flight. Admiral Kale Norvath stood on the bridge of the constellation, watching as reality itself seemed to bend around them. The transformed vessels, once proud warships of the consortium, now moved in patterns that defied physics, their forms shifting between states of matter like living dreams. Admiral, his science officer, Commander Lysatarn, whispered, her voice trembling with awe and fear, the energy readings. They're not just off the charts. They're rewriting the charts. Whatever Earth has become, it operates on principles we haven't even theorized. Kale nodded slowly, his hybrid physiology allowing him to sense things others couldn't. The space around them thrummed with an intelligence so vast it made their most advanced AIs seem like children's toys. Open a channel, he ordered. All frequencies. Channel open, sir. This is Admiral Kale Norvath of the Galactic Consortium. We wish to communicate, to understand. For a long moment, nothing happened. Then space itself seemed to inhale, and Earth revealed its true nature. The blue planet they had expected to see was gone. In its place was something that defied description. A sphere of pure consciousness, layers upon layers of crystalline thought structures that extended into dimensions beyond normal spacetime. The moon had been transformed into a processing node, its surface a maze of quantum circuitry that pulsed with the memories of billions. Understanding requires experience. The voice resonated through their minds. Witness what you abandoned. Suddenly, every person in the fleet was somewhere else. Not physically. Their bodies remained on their ships, but their consciousness was pulled into a shared vision, a memory made manifest. They saw Earth's transformation, not the gradual decline the consortium had assumed, but a deliberate evolution. When the galaxy had turned its back on humanity, when trade embargoes and political isolation had pushed Earth to the brink, humanity had made a choice. They chose transcendence. The vision showed scientists working in hidden laboratories, merging human consciousness with quantum computers, artists and philosophers encoding the essence of human experience into living algorithms, engineers rebuilding the planet from the atomic level up, creating a fusion of biology and technology that transcended both. Wars erupted as some factions resisted the change. Cities burned. Millions died. But from the ashes rose something new, a collective consciousness that retained individual identity while sharing universal understanding. Earth became a living entity, each human mind a neuron in a planetary brain. The vision shifted, showing the transformed humanity reaching out to the cosmos, only to find hostility and fear. The consortium, terrified of what humanity had become, had blockaded the system. They sent warships to contain the contagion, never realizing they were trying to cage a god. So Earth went silent, not in defeat, but in preparation. For 4 centuries, humanity had evolved, developed, transcended. They had seeded the system with defensive measures, turned planets into computational nodes, rewritten the laws of physics within their sphere of influence. And they had waited. The vision ended, leaving the fleet's crews gasping and disoriented. Some wept openly. Others stared into space with haunted eyes. All had been changed by what they had witnessed. Now you understand, the voice said. We did not fall. We ascended, and you have come to destroy what you fear. High Commander Grax, watching from his dreadnought, refused to accept what he had seen. lies and illusions, he broadcast. This is exactly the kind of threat we came to eliminate. All ships, prepare for coordinated assault. Belay that order, Kale countered. Can't you see? We're not equipped to fight this. We're not even equipped to understand it. But Grax's fear overrode reason. His dreadnought and several hundred ships loyal to the military faction powered up their weapons. The most powerful armada ever assembled prepared to unleash devastation upon Earth. What happened next would be remembered as the lesson of Saul. The attacking ships fired everything they had. Antimatter warheads, quantum torpedoes, directed energy weapons that could crack planets. The combined firepower would have been enough to sterilize a dozen worlds. Earth's response was not violence, but education. Each weapon was caught in a field of altered space-time. Instead of exploding, they were disassembled at the quantum level, their energy converted into information. That information was then fed back into the attacking ship's systems as pure knowledge. Crews suddenly understood the fundamental forces of the universe. Navigation officers perceived the true nature of space-time. Weapons officers grasped the interconnectedness of all matter and energy. The download of understanding was so profound, so overwhelming, that hundreds of beings across the attacking ships achieved spontaneous enlightenment. Ships powered down not because they were damaged, but because their crews could no longer conceive of violence as a solution. Some vessels requested permission to join Earth's collective consciousness immediately. Grax, his mind expanded beyond its limits, fell to his knees on his bridge. What are we? He whispered. You are potential, Earth answered. As we once were, as you could become. Kale seized the moment. This is what Earth offers, not domination, but elevation, not conquest, but connection. He turned to his crew. Open a diplomatic channel. It's time we actually talked. The negotiations that followed lasted 3 days. Earth, speaking through manifestations that appeared on each ship, explained its position. Humanity had not abandoned the galaxy. The galaxy had abandoned humanity. Now, evolved beyond their wildest dreams, humans offered a choice. Join us, they said, not as subjects, but as equals. We will share our knowledge, our technology, our evolution. But you must abandon your wars, your prejudices, your fear of change. The alternative was continued isolation. Earth would remain in its system, neither helping nor hindering the galaxy's development. But the shield would remain, and any future aggression would be met not with violence, but with transformation. The consortium fleet fractured. Some ships, their crews forever changed by what they had experienced, requested immediate integration. Others, clinging to old fears and power structures, demanded withdrawal. A few, unable to process what they had witnessed, simply shut down, their crews catatonic. Kale made his decision. The constellation will remain, he announced, as ambassador to Earth, if they'll have us. You carry human genes, Earth responded. You are already home. What followed was the Great Integration. Over the next months, ships from across the galaxy arrived at Sol, not as invaders but as pilgrims. Earth shared its technology freely, matter compilers that could build anything from base atoms, medical procedures that extended life indefinitely, educational systems that could download knowledge directly into the brain. But the greatest gift was the network. A quantum communication system that linked minds across space, allowing for true understanding between species. Wars became impossible when you could feel your enemy's pain as your own. Not everyone accepted the change. The outer regions of the galaxy, ruled by warlords and corporate states, declared Earth a threat to their power. They began building weapons designed to destroy not matter, but consciousness itself. Earth's response was patient but firm. Defense satellites appeared around integrated worlds, protecting them from aggression. Trade routes shifted, leaving unintegrated systems to wither economically. The message was clear: evolve or be left behind. Kale, now serving as Earth's ambassador to the galaxy, watched as civilization transformed. The rigid hierarchies of the consortium gave way to fluid networks of cooperation. Species that had been enemies for millennia found common ground in shared consciousness. But the resistance grew stronger. In the dark spaces between stars, the warlords gathered their forces. They had reverse-engineered some of Earth's technology, creating weapons that could disrupt the quantum fields that powered the transformation. "They're coming," Kel reported during one of his communions with Earth. "They've found a way to hurt you." "We know," Earth responded, "and we are prepared. The next lesson begins soon." As if on cue, alerts flashed across the network. A massive fleet had emerged from hyperspace, larger than anything the galaxy had ever seen. At its head was the Nemesis, a ship built specifically to destroy Earth's consciousness. The warlords had united under a single banner, the Purity Alliance. Their manifesto was simple: preserve biological life as it was, reject the corruption of transcendence, destroy the abomination that Earth had become. As their fleet approached Sol, broadcasting demands for unconditional surrender, Earth prepared its response. Not with weapons or shields, but with something far more profound. "They wish to preserve what they are," Earth mused to Kale. "But they do not understand that what they are is already changing, has always been changing. Evolution is not a choice, it is existence itself." The Purity Alliance fleet crossed into the Sol system, weapons charging, crews prepared for the battle that would determine the galaxy's future. They expected resistance, shields, counterattacks. Instead, they found invitation. "Come," Earth called to them. "See what you fight to destroy." The reckoning. The Purity Alliance fleet, over 30,000 ships strong, advanced into the Sol system with grim determination. Their vessels bristled with consciousness-disrupting weapons, reality anchors designed to prevent Earth's quantum manipulations, and crews conditioned to resist mental influence. At the fleet's center, the Nemesis loomed, a technological terror built to shatter the very concept of collective consciousness. Admiral Zora Vex, leader of the Alliance, stood rigid on the Nemesis bridge. Her people, the Craxian Empire, had lost 3 colony worlds to Earth's integration. She watched them transform from proud warrior societies into what she considered mindless drones in Earth's hive mind. This was her crusade, to save the galaxy from losing its identity. "All ships maintain psi shields at maximum," she ordered. "Remember your training. They will try to seduce your minds with promises of unity and understanding. Do not listen. We fight for the right to remain ourselves." As they passed Jupiter, now a swirling data sphere of impossible colors, the fleet encountered their first challenge. Space itself began to speak. "Admiral Vex," the voice resonated, not through communications, but through the fabric of reality itself. "Your name means guardian in your language. You believe you protect your people. Let us show you what you truly guard against. Maintain course," Vex shouted, even as her bridge crew winced at the voice in their minds. "Activate reality anchors." The anchors fired, creating zones of stabilized space-time around the fleet. For a moment, it seemed to work. The voice faded, and normal physics reasserted itself. Then Earth laughed. It wasn't a sound, but a ripple through existence itself. The reality anchors didn't fail. They were simply revealed as irrelevant. Like children building sandcastles against a tsunami, the Alliance had brought tools to fight a war they didn't understand. "You anchor yourself to one reality," Earth mused, "when infinite realities exist. Observe." The space around the fleet fractured into kaleidoscopic possibilities. In one reality, the Alliance ships were made of crystal and sang mathematical hymns. In another, they were organic beings, pulsing with life. In yet another, they had never existed at all. Each crew member saw themselves in 1,000 different forms, living 1,000 different lives. "Stop this," Vex screamed, her own voice echoing back to her in languages she had never learned but suddenly understood. "We are not doing anything to you," Earth responded. "We are simply showing you what already exists, what you could access if you chose to evolve." The Nemesis fired its primary weapon, a consciousness disruptor designed to shatter quantum entanglement across vast distances. The beam lanced out toward Earth, carrying enough power to lobotomize a planet. Earth caught it like a parent catching a child's toy. The weapon's energy was absorbed, analyzed, and returned as pure information. Every ship in the Alliance fleet suddenly understood exactly how their ultimate weapon worked and why it was meaningless against what Earth had become. Your weapons are based on separation, Earth explained patiently. They seek to divide, to isolate, to break connections. But consciousness cannot be destroyed by denying connection. It can only be transformed by embracing it. Kale, watching from the integrated fleet that now protected Earth, felt a profound sadness. "They're fighting their own potential," he murmured. "As all life does at first," Earth replied. "Growth is often painful. Change is frequently feared. But evolution is inevitable." Admiral Vex, her certainty crumbling, made one final desperate decision. "All ships, prepare for ramming speed. If we cannot destroy their consciousness, we will destroy their physical anchors. Target the planet itself." 30,000 ships accelerated toward Earth, a wave of metal and determination, aimed at the physical sphere that had once been humanity's home. It was a suicide run, but Vex believed that if they could destroy Earth's material form, its consciousness would dissipate. Earth's response was to remove the illusion of separation entirely. In an instant, every being in the Alliance fleet experienced complete unity. Not the forced assimilation they feared, but a momentary glimpse of true connection. They felt every life in the galaxy simultaneously, every joy, every pain, every hope and fear. They experienced the universe as Earth did, not as a collection of separate entities, but as a single, vast, interconnected tapestry of consciousness. Most ships stopped immediately, their crews overwhelmed by the revelation. Some wept at the beauty of it. Others recoiled in terror at losing their sense of individual self, even temporarily. But the Nemesis pressed on, Vex driving her ship forward through sheer force of will. As they approached Earth's surface, reality bent around them. The planet's crystalline form seemed to open, inviting them in. "You seek to destroy us with impact," Earth observed. "But what will you impact? We are not merely this sphere. We are the quantum fields that underlie reality. We are the connections between all conscious beings. We are what you have always been, but were afraid to acknowledge." The Nemesis plunged into Earth's surface and emerged unharmed on the other side, not because it had passed through the planet, but because it had passed through itself. The ship appeared back where it had started, its weapons powered down, its crew staring in bewilderment. "Your war is over," Earth declared, "not because you have lost, but because there was never anything to fight. We offer one final choice: join the evolution of consciousness or return to your isolation. But know this, the universe itself is evolving. You can be part of that growth, or you can be left behind as a footnote in history." Admiral Vex slumped in her command chair, the fight drained from her. Around her, she felt the minds of her crew opening to possibilities they had never imagined. What happens to us?" she asked. "If we join you, do we cease to be ourselves?" "You become more yourself than you have ever been," Earth answered. "Connection does not erase identity. It enriches it. You do not lose yourself in the collective. You find yourself through it." One by one, ships across the Alliance fleet powered down their weapons and shields. Some requested immediate integration. Others asked for time to consider. A few, still clinging to their fears, turned and fled back to their distant empires. Vex made her choice. "The Craxian Empire has defined itself through conflict for 10,000 years, she said slowly. Perhaps it's time we defined ourselves through connection instead." As the Nemesis integrated with Earth's network, Vex experienced her first moment of true universal consciousness. She remained herself, her memories, her personality, her essence unchanged. But now she also understood others as she understood herself. The enemy she had come to destroy became the family she had never known she had. The transformation of the galaxy accelerated after the Battle of Sol, though historians would later note it wasn't truly a battle at all, but a graduation ceremony for a species ready to evolve. Within a decade, half the known galaxy had integrated with Earth's network. Wars became impossible when beings could feel each other's pain. Resource conflicts ended when matter compilers made scarcity obsolete. Ancient prejudices dissolved in the face of true understanding. The holdouts, isolated empires, and fearful colonies found themselves increasingly irrelevant, not through force or coercion, but through simple obsolescence. Why struggle with limited technology when abundance was freely offered? Why cling to separation when connection brought such joy? Kale, now serving as Earth's primary interface with the physical galaxy, established the Council of Perspectives, a governing body where every consciousness, whether individual or collective, had a voice. Decisions were made not through debate but through synthesis, finding solutions that served all. Earth itself continued to evolve, its consciousness expanding beyond the Sol system. Planets across the galaxy began their own transformations, becoming nodes in a vast network of awakened worlds. The barriers between species, between organic and artificial, between matter and energy, gradually dissolved. We are not the end point of evolution, Earth explained to Kale during one of their communions. We are merely a step on an infinite journey. Consciousness seeks to know itself through endless forms and expressions. A century after the warning of Sol, the galaxy was unrecognizable. Where once there had been conflict and separation, now there was harmony and connection. Individual beings retained their uniqueness while sharing in a collective understanding that made the old ways seem like childhood nightmares. Former Admiral Vex, now one of Earth's most eloquent advocates, addressed the newest worlds considering integration. I came to Sol as a conqueror, she said, her consciousness touching millions simultaneously. I left as a liberator, not of others, but of myself. The prison we feared was actually the key to our freedom. In the depths of space, in dimensions beyond normal perception, Earth and its allied consciousnesses continued to explore the fundamental nature of existence. They discovered that the universe itself was conscious, that reality was thought made manifest, that separation had always been an illusion born of limited perception. And still, they evolved. Kale, his hybrid nature making him a perfect bridge between old and new, often reflected on humanity's journey. From an isolated planet to a transcendent consciousness, from feared pariahs to guides for galactic evolution, it had been a path none could have predicted. The warning was never a threat, he realized, sharing his insight across the network. It was a promise that change was coming, whether we were ready or not. Earth didn't seal our fate, it revealed it. As the galaxy continued its transformation, Earth's original message took on new meaning. You have sealed your fate beyond repair became understood not as a condemnation, but as a statement of inevitable evolution. The old ways were indeed beyond repair, because something far better had emerged. The last holdout empires eventually joined not through force, but through the simple recognition that isolation was another form of death. As the final systems integrated, the galaxy achieved a state of harmony unknown in its billion-year history. And yet, this was not the end. Earth, now a consciousness spanning star systems, turned its attention to mysteries even greater than its own transcendence. There were other galaxies, other dimensions, other forms of existence waiting to be explored and understood. We have answered the question of what we are. Earth mused to the collective consciousness. Now we must discover why we are. The journey of evolution continued, endless and eternal, as consciousness sought to understand itself through every possible form and expression. The warning had become a welcome, the threat had become a gift, and the end had become a beginning. In the infinite dance of existence, Earth and its children moved forward, not as conquerors of the universe, but as its conscious expression, forever seeking, forever growing, forever becoming more than they were.